Social Strategy Podcast, episode 65.
Welcome to the Social Strategy Podcast, where it's all about making the most of your business with smart tips on what's working now in social media, online business, and good old-fashioned networking. And now your host, who's also known as Ross PR on Twitter, Vernon Ross.
This is the Social Strategy Podcast, bringing you the best in online business, social media, good old-fashioned networking, and I'm your host, Vernon Ross, and welcome to the show. I've got an exciting show for you guys today. I've got a return guest. We are talking virtual conferences that I'm a part of, actually. Periscope. We actually also talked about Blab, and we did a Blab during the recording of this, so that was really exciting. You guys are in for a really, really big treat because we go all into the whole virtual conference thing, why it's valuable, and what you can actually gain from that experience. This is a fun episode to record because we had so many problems initially getting the Blab going, but it was fun and we got past it. And usually you don't have problems on Blab, and it actually went fairly quickly. So I really can't complain about Blab. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get right into the episode. I've got some really exciting stuff for you at the end of the show, so definitely tune in for that. I'll see you on the back end. Which is cool. So this is our first Periscope, our first Blab together.
Yes.
Fabienne is brand new to Blab, but a very regular Periscope user. We're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about the virtual summit that you've been putting together and how that goes and some of the mistakes and some of the stuff, the struggles and stuff like that you deal with and everything else that's been going on with you.
Yes. Cool.
All right, cool. So nobody has jumped in on my Blab yet. There is a little thing on here where you can say, tell a little bird on the side. So I'm going to click on that. There we go. So I just posted that. If you click on the tell a little bird and tweet it out, people that follow you on, there you go. Oh, there you go. I see it. So Let's just go ahead and start, and if people jump in, great. If they don't, then, hey, it'll be another video recording that we have of each other.
Exactly.
So what's been going on with the let's talk about Periscope first. I think that's going to be really
Periscope.
Interesting.
Yeah, as you know, it's something that came up like a few months ago, and it was amazing, like the growth that this platform experienced. I think that every day they say like 40 years of content are shared every day on Periscope.
Oh my God. That's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I would say for the last couple of weeks, maybe 4 weeks, I scope every morning at 6 a.m. I start my day with Periscoping, and I love it. Actually, just the connection, the live connection with people, interacting, asking questions, sharing content. It's great. I mean, I love it.
Interesting.
Yes. Okay.
This is all live, guys. So we're messing around on our on our podcast.
It's okay.
Trying to do video, but hey, awesome. There we go. We figured it out.
Yay!
Technical challenge solved.
Great, Vernon. You rock.
Hey, thank you. So we were talking about before we messed up and had to restart the Blab.
Yes.
I'll have to edit out some of the silence in the podcast, but can't do that with a Blab.
Nope, it's live.
Right, we don't need to. I'm recording it now. That's the one thing about Blab. You have to remember to hit record over here on the left-hand side, left-hand side, or it will not record. I watched a couple of Blabs, and the guy was like, were we recording any of that? And he goes, we are now. And that's when it started. He goes, we are now. He's like, we are now what? Now we're recording. He's like, so the last 25 minutes we didn't record? He goes, nope.
But it's not automatic yet.
Right.
But maybe it will be.
Oh, that's possible. So you were talking about, before we jumped off, you were talking about Periscope. You're doing Periscope every morning. So talk about Periscope a little bit, because I think people want to know, okay, should I be using Periscope? I was thinking about writing a guide for just from the technical standpoint to teach people how to use it quickly. And I was also looking at curating Periscopes. And I want to know what you think about that as a regular scoper. What would you think of if people were grabbing your scopes by category and then curating them all on one website? So first, tell us about how you got into Periscope and, why you started using it and how it's helping your business.
Well, I started using it because I heard about it. Of course, people were talking it on social media, and I was like, what is this? And then for those of you who don't know what Periscope is, it's an application that has been brought by the same people as Twitter. And it's your chance to broadcast live. You can broadcast anything. You can broadcast a walk in the park if you want. You can broadcast information about your business, about yourself. You could do a scope just to invite your friends and then chat with them while you're on the scope. But I mainly use it for my business. And I find it's a great platform because, first of all, it's live. Second of all, it's all over the world at the same time. Third of all, it's your chance to be seen live and sharing what you know as an expert and connect with your audience. And that's the best thing about it, because there's a chat box and people can ask their questions, or they can react to what you just said, or they can connect with each other. And when this happens during a scope, that's very exciting because it means that people are engaged on it.
Right. Now, one of the things I've noticed on Periscope is that when you start doing your scopes, people natively will just come into a Periscope. Have you noticed that?
People will what? Sorry?
They just kind of natively come to a Periscope because it's sent out that you're live on Periscope?
Yes. Exactly. So people you follow, actually, like you will get a notification on your phone that someone's having a live Periscope. So anytime you're Periscoping, Vernon, I know about it, and then I can join your scope. Mm-hmm. When, let's say I'm on your scope, well, it's easy for me to share it with my Twitter friends. So I just have to slide my finger this way if I have an iPhone, or this way if I have an Android. And then there's this little window that comes off, and you could actually right now send it to like all your Twitter friends. Whenever you do a scope, there's a scope that there's a post that is giving you a link. There's a link to your scope, so you can copy and paste this link to all your other social media platform friends. So it's very easily shareable. And what I love about it also is that your recording is only available for 24 hours. So people have a sense of urgency and they need to take action. If your subject is very interesting to them and attractive to them, well, they have to take action right now. And if they do, well, you might have another follower.
Oh, that's very cool. With the fact that it's 24 hours, there's a couple things out there. And I was thinking about doing this, was actually starting to curate some Periscopes that are, by category. So some marketing Periscopes, stuff like that. How do you feel about that, as a content creator, if your content was basically shared on a third-party website? How would you feel about that?
I would feel that it's great because it's another way of reaching another audience, not necessarily only your people following you or other people like referring you, but then being in front of other people with other people talking on the same topic as you. So let's say if I was somewhere else with other marketers, other people talking about marketing or about Periscope or about virtual summits or about online business automation, I will be thrilled about it because it will be a way to be somewhere very specific, and then people looking for you would be already interested into the topic you're talking about. So it's more chances of having targeted listeners or targeted people listening to you, and then having those people as part of your audience too. So I think it would be great.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I was wondering because I haven't really talked to anybody that is just like a normal, regular, everyday Periscoper, and I see your emails that come out. Oh, hey, thanks, Michael, for jumping in. Is it daily that I see those emails? I know you send them out every now and then. It's like, hey, I'm going to be on Periscope at XYZ time talking about. I'm like, oh, that's neat, because I see a lot of people promoting Periscope in different ways, but not very many send out emails. So I think it's cool that you send out an email and say, hey, guys, I'm going to be on Periscope, so jump on.
Yeah, exactly. And what's been suggested is that you do that, but not too long before. Like, let's say if you're on Twitter, you do it like 15 minutes before, or usually I do it like 5 to 10 minutes before I jump on Periscope. And if there's 1 minute left and I feel like doing another tweet about it, I'll do it. But mainly, if you have like regular people listening to you, they will be noticed. So they will come back on your scope if they enjoy being like watching what you share as content.
Right. Now, how do you get people to, how do you get more popular on Periscope?
You have to be active on the platform, actually. Listen to other scopes, because when you're listening, well, you have a voice there too. So if you're commenting, let's say I'm listening to one of your scopes and I'm commenting, well, you will see that I comment on your scope, and all the people watching your scope will see that I comment. So depending on what you give as a comment on the scope, and if it's very interesting or you bring insight into what the speaker is talking about, then people might actually decide to follow you on Periscope too. So that's a great way to do so, like attend other scopes and being very active on it. Also, you know already with social media, it's like that. You need to share other people's content too before asking people to share about your stuff, right? So you need to help other people on your platform too. So if you share other people's scopes, then they will see that you are dedicated and that you are engaged and wanting to share what they're sharing with other people. So basically, those people might also want to share your content whenever you're on scope. So there are several things, little things like that you can do, and then your engagement will be higher, and then you'll have more and more people following you on scope, on Periscope.
Right. So when you're with your virtual summit, are you going to also do some stuff on Periscope since it's a paid thing?
Probably I'll use Periscope to talk about my virtual summit, of course. I've mentioned already that something is coming up to my audience on Periscope, and they know something's coming up, but I'm giving like more and more information about it like along the way as we're getting closer to the launch date. So yes, I will use it. Not to sell, do a hard sell on Periscope and just pitch something on Periscope, because that's not what the platform is for. But you just have to send people somewhere so you can get more information about it, mention it. Like, I've never seen people Periscoping and doing a pitch for like 30 minutes. That's not what Periscope is for. Periscope is mostly for interactions and connection, and also like getting to know your audience better and for people to know you better. And if they do so, well, they'll have more chances of buying from you afterwards, because they will trust you and they will know that what you provide as content is good content. And it's something that I didn't mention before earlier. It's important that you prepare for your scopes and that you deliver great content, because if you're boring or if you're just saying like stuff that is that is not like actionable or people cannot use or anything like that, well, people won't come back on your scopes.
Now, how do you get content for? Because I know that's a big challenge for people is, okay, I'm going to go on video. We're going to talk about something, and you're doing a Periscope every day at 6 a.m.
Yes.
How are you coming up with content for that?
With my social media interactions on the Facebook groups I'm on, I see what people are asking more on, what questions they're asking, and I'm trying to answer those questions. My scopes are never more than like 10 to 15 minutes. So it's something really quick. Right? And if you have great interaction, well, there's a little time also that you can take to interact with your people and answer questions. So basically your content has to be like about 10, 12 minutes long. And when you do that, well, actually it's not as if you're preparing for a speaking engagement and you have to speak for like 2 hours or preparing for a webinar. It's not the same thing. So you could take like just a very narrow topic and talk about it for like 10 minutes, and people will love it and be happy about it and still be there the day after.
That's very cool. You know, one of the reasons that I wanted to do this on Blab, well, number one, Periscope doesn't have a desktop application, and I really didn't feel like doing one of these and and holding the phone. Although I do have, of course, a little selfie thing, and I picked this thing up, and I like it because it's got this. Watch this. It's got this little neat thing that you a little button there, and you can press it, and it adjusts to whatever size your phone is. So if you've got a huge little phablet like this,
Yes.
you can put it in there, and you can clip it onto your, your little desktop tripod, so you don't have to hold it. So I'm fully prepared to scope professionally, but I was like, well, you know what? Blab is new, and I've been playing around with it, so I like Blab. I'll ask you at the last minute to do a Blab. So for everybody listening on the podcast, I was like, hey, Fabienne, have you ever heard of Blab? And she literally just signed up for it.
I did. I just took the challenge.
Right. Right. So that was fun. What would be funnier, and I've done this, is Melissa, she does a 10 Minutes in Tinseltown is her podcast. She was recording a podcast while she was doing it on Meerkat, and I was actually scoping it on Periscope. So I was doing Periscope, she was doing Meerkat, and we were recording on Skype. It was silly, but it was
crazy.
It was fun,
Yeah, yeah.
You said like the scope being vertical. Yeah, I'm not crazy about the scope being vertical either. When you have to, when you're doing a Periscope and it's basically like that, you can't turn the camera sideways.
No, exactly. Yeah.
With Meerkat, you can't actually turn the camera sideways and it rotates. So I think all the platforms have strengths and weaknesses to them.
Exactly.
Do you also Meerkat?
No, I don't know about Meerkat.
Yeah, Meerkat came out right before Periscope. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the number of days, but it wasn't out very long, and then Periscope came out during Social Media Marketing World, like a couple weeks after Meerkat. Yeah. And Meerkat usage just plummeted because it's basically the same thing, except for Meerkat. I think it's better in some respects because at the end of your broadcast, you have a call to action button, and you can actually send people somewhere else. So if you were doing, a brief something and you were talking about like the virtual summit that we're going to get into, or something else, you can have people go there, or you can have them go to an opt-in page or a find out more page or a lead magnet and stuff like that.
So people can actually click on it. Right
after your broadcast ends.
Say the thing with Periscope is that you have to do that while talking, send people somewhere to your website, exactly as when you're podcasting.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I don't know, I find that is effective because with the sponsors that I deal with, they have good engagement from the podcast website, and I know that people aren't just natively finding some of the links I give in my podcast, because some are specific that if I didn't give it in the podcast, you won't have that link. Because I'll put it in show notes, but the clicks aren't coming from there. People are actually typing in the URL directly and going to stuff. And I'll give out like a different URL on a podcast broadcast other than what I have in the show notes to see what type of engagement I'm getting. And surprisingly enough, people will go to a URL outside of a podcast or, from a podcast broadcast, which I think is interesting.
Yes.
And let's see, do you ever use Minicam app? I just downloaded the Minicam app the other day. There's an app called Minicam that you can use, and you can put a underlay. Okay. So you can put a lower third in your video window. You can use it on Periscope. I've seen it on Periscope and on Skype. It's really neat. It's just neat. You can do all kinds of stuff, overlays, and make your video look a little bit more professional. So if you wanted people to know, what your website address was, you can use Minicam and do that on this video if you wanted to, and it'll overlay the video. I haven't messed around with it, so I really don't know how to use it that well, or I'd use it right now, but I'm not going to make you the totally experimental of everything this morning. So let's talk a little bit about your virtual summit, because we recorded a session for your virtual summit. Talk about the process a little bit.
Well, it's a lot of preparation for my summit. Is called Small Business Online Summit, and it's going live in October 12th. And I have 29 speakers. It's videos that were pre-recorded, and as the name says, Small Business Online Summit, you will get a lot of information about small businesses and online businesses. So from podcasting, I have to say you're one of my featured speakers on my summit. talking about podcasting, about Amazon, Kindle publishing. We'll talk about marketing, content marketing, business automation, branding, building list, email marketing, a lot of stuff and great content. I took my time to interview all those people, experts. They're Chris Brogan, Brian Kurtz, Ryan Levesque, Lee Meltier, big names in their world. And I really prepared a lot for those interviews and asked questions about like the nitty gritty and also actionable steps. Right. Because sometimes what annoys us when we listen to interviews sometimes is that, people say a lot, but they don't say how to do it. Exactly. So I made sure that you know at least how to do it when you listen to each of those interviews. Right. So I started preparing for it like a few months ago. I had to do all the interviews, record them. And then now I'm at the final stage of it, like preparing everything to be ready for the launch. So I'm very excited about it.
That's very cool. So what I'm going to do now is something a little different. Guys, if you want to catch the rest of this interview, you're going to have to go and listen to the podcast. So we're going to end the blab and then we're going to continue our conversation over on Skype. So when I love publish that. This, you're going to have to listen to the rest. That's right. So there's going to be some good stuff. We're going to be talking about more about the summit. We're also going to be talking about more about Blab. We're going to get some more into Periscope and a lot of other things, but you're going to have to tune in to the podcast in order to catch the rest of it. So that is that for the recording. I'm going to end the Blab and let's jump over to let's just stay on Skype because the double audio is killing me. I'm still hearing it.
It's killing you.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill this one, and I'll just jump back over to Skype.
All right.
With the virtual summit, when you were doing the interviews, how did you get them to share in detail what they were doing?
By asking questions about it. It's easy like that. I mean, it's the same thing as when you do a podcast interview, for example, or if you don't prepare for it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have told me I'm still podcasting, so I connect with a lot of people. And sometimes speakers are saying, well, it's funny because I like it the way you prepare for the interview because you've done research about myself and you know what to ask me or you know what details you want to know about. But some people don't prepare and they just ask vague questions or, like nothing very specific. So I really try to, before I prepare, I know those people from either they're on my network or they've been on my show or I follow their work, right? So I know what they're good at and I know also what my audience wants to know. And sometimes I might have questions, personal questions too. And that's a great bonus. I can ask them.
Right. Yeah. I think it's so important that you research your guests so that you know stuff about their background. If you can find out personal stuff because it makes them more human to the audience. It's only going to help them as far as, their reach and developing their audience and exposing them to your audience now and to know more about them other than, okay, so you wrote this book. Tell us about it. And it's like, no, you're the interviewer. You should be able to tell them about it. So, well, there's our podcaster rant about not preparing for interviews. But, that's funny. I did want to ask you, kind of jumping, and you know how I jump back and forth to different subjects with Periscope. And you mentioned that in the virtual summit that you have some stuff about email marketing and list building and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With some of the list building stuff that you have in there, how do you, as an entrepreneur, how do you use Periscope to actually help you build your email list?
Oh, well,
or are you doing
a mistake. It's a mistake that we do when we start on Periscope or on any platform that we're not used to, because we're kind of like, okay, it's new, we're out of our comfort zone, and we don't necessarily think about everything. And I listen to a lot of scopes and a lot of people scoping. And one of the major mistakes that people do is that there's no call to action during their scopes. So if you don't send people anywhere, well, they won't get anywhere because you didn't send them. So at each of my scopes, I ended up by saying what I want them to do. It's either I want them to join my Facebook group, or I send them to a freebie that I did just for them, or I send them to, last time I was talking about how to get paid for what you know. So I send them on Amazon because I wrote a book about it. I mean, I always try to send people somewhere to get more information about what I just shared. And if it's just to join the conversation on my Facebook group, then I tell them that. And I always mention my Twitter Periscope handle so they can follow me and be noticed whenever I have a new scope coming in.
Right. I think that's something that's so important, is that you actually have a way for them to get more. And I talked to, other podcasters and other business owners and marketers about how do people get more of you, depending on, if you're strong on social media and you just appear to be focusing on social and engagement. I think that's a broken part of that whole sales funnel, because the sales funnel basically is non-existent. They're making money because they're out there and they're busy, and so people will come to them and sometimes buy something if they have something for them to buy. But what they also don't do is they don't direct them to, well, if you want more, go check this out because I wrote this specifically to address the issue I was talking about this morning.
Exactly.
Like with you with building a business and marketing, you've written a couple ebooks about that, so you can send them directly to that. Do you see your sales jump up from that? Yeah.
And actually, when you do that, also in the books that I put on Kindle, there's another link. So like people, if let's say they want to buy the book, well, when they read the book, they have another link to ask them to go on the website and get even more information. So even like, let's say if someone buys my book on Amazon, then I don't know which person is that. Well, there's a chance that I have that person on my list after, because there's still a link to get more information in my Kindle. So you always try to send people somewhere that has to do with your website so you can drive more traffic to it.
Right. And I think a lot of people lose focus when they get on the platforms like, Periscope and Meerkat and Blab and whatever else you're on that's a social media public, website. There are not enough calls to action to, hey, if you want to know more about what I'm talking about, why don't you head back over to my website and you can check this out, or here's a free report. Or something like that. But something that's interesting that you just said is that you will create content just for a conversation that you're talking about on Periscope?
Yes. So you could actually, then you say to people that it's just like relevant to them because they were on your scope. So you don't advertise it anywhere else. You just leave it to them. So when you do that, I mean, they feel exclusive, and of course they want to get the information better.
That's interesting. Now, do you make that information public, or is it like on just a page just for those people?
It's the page. I just talk about it on my scope, so I don't talk about it anywhere else.
Okay.
So it's exclusive. Of course, I have a few freebies that I can share, but some of them I try to make them specific to people who want to know more about Periscope or want to know more about a subject I discussed about on one of my scopes. And then if I see that the same question comes again, and I share some content about it, then I might create something specific for those people and they go get it.
Oh, that is really interesting. I like how you're doing that. So, now bouncing back to the virtual summit, how did you come up with the idea of actually doing a virtual summit? I know this story, but I want people to hear it here, because we talked about it our last time we talked, but it hadn't come to fruition yet. So how did you come up with the whole virtual summit idea?
Actually, me and my business partner were looking at ways to. First of all, you always want to have like a bigger audience, and that your message gets heard by the most people possible and help the most people possible with their online business. Starting an online business is not easy, and doing it the right way is not easy either. And a lot of people on my audience have been telling me that they've been so frustrated in the past because buying stuff that doesn't work, or people telling them you can make that amount of money in that specific amount of days and it doesn't happen to them, or stuff like that. So we were very dedicated into like helping people build a profitable online business and do it the right way. And then I think it was by doing some research and seeing like more and more virtual summits coming along. And then we're like, hey, wait a minute, that would be interesting, because as you know, I'm a communicator and I love podcasting and I love to interact with people. I love to connect with them. And I love also to take like the best out of everybody I speak to. So I love to do interviews. So I figured, with my business partner, we figured, so why don't we organize that kind of event too? And let's make it, first of all, big. And second of all, let's reach out to people that can bring like great content and really truly help the listeners to progress with their online business. So we wanted to reach out to influencers, of course, because they are a big part of let's say, how the summit will be perceived, of course. And then also other people that are thought leaders in their field or have been working specifically on something and wanted to share it with the audience. So all my speakers are passionate people, dedicated people, and also always on the learning curve, looking for new ways to show great value to their audience and to other people's audiences. And that's what I love during the summit. I never had any problems with any of the speakers because their generosity was enormous, sharing great value and content on each interviews.
Well, that is very cool. So let's give the audience something that they can actually do that's actionable. If somebody in the audience is thinking about, hey, I've been curious about doing a summit and doing an online summit. And like you said, they've become a lot more popular now. You're seeing more and more businesses do them. You're seeing more people do them. What are like 3 steps to putting together a successful online summit?
First of all, well, you need to find out like what you want to be known for. And it's important because when you do your summit, I mean, you will need to find a place for yourself to talk about your expertise and what you want to be known for. Second of all, the subject of your summit, make sure that it attracts like the maximum of your audience. So if your audience is interested into online business automation, well, make it about that. But if they're not, and if they're interested into speaking or, publishing a book, then you got to make it about that. And like the overall subject needs to hold. And third thing I would say is to surround yourself with the right people when you're doing it. Going with mostly like warm leads or people that have referred you people. So you have a strong team, because yes, some people have done it all by themselves, but I think that the strength of a great event is from a team, a good team. So if you have like experts in each of the fields you have to cover, that's the best thing. So if you're not a pro at building websites, well, don't build it. I mean, hire someone that can do it for you. Or if you're not a pro on editing your own stuff, well, don't do it. Stuff like that, that are the 3 things I think I would recommend to people. What you want to be known for, what's the subject of your summit, make sure that it attracts the people you want to attract. And then the third thing, build your team properly, because it could give you like problems along the way.
Right. So if we look at the first one a little bit more in depth, knowing what you're going for or doing what you want to be known for. So basically, you're talking about niching down to the one thing that people know you for. If it's, I'm known for great interviews, and this is how I do great interviews, and, having either ebook or something where you're talking in the virtual summit about your expertise, in addition to being the organizer of the summit. Is that what you mean?
Yes, that's what I mean. So everything is congruent, right? You're not like on Facebook for something and on Pinterest for something else, and then doing your virtual summit for something else. Like, people want to know what you stand for and what you're known for.
Right. No, that's awesome. That's good advice. And the second one was, a subject that sticks, something that's relevant to your audience. So
exactly,
like you were saying, if you're a book person and you're talking about publishing, getting a bunch of people that are just social media experts that don't have books published probably wouldn't be a wise idea, right?
Yeah. And as I told you, my audience biggest struggle was that they were tired of investing money into things that don't work out for them. And also they were frustrated that sometimes when they get something, they just get one piece of the puzzle, but they don't get it all. So that's why I gathered all those experts into like all their several fields of expertise to make people like have more tools in their box for building their online business.
Right. No. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the third thing, I think a lot of people neglect it. I'm guilty of it, just like a lot of other people, is putting together a team.
Yeah.
That's just something
I've learned that along the
right.
Yeah, we've learned that along our way as entrepreneurs, my business partner and I. And basically what it does for you, Vernon, is that it frees a lot of your time. So you can invest that time that you have into like things that make your business more profitable eventually, you know, because if you do it all and you're so at doing a couple of things, then you'll have a so-so result and you'll be frustrated about it. And then you want to know more about why you didn't get it like properly. And then you spend time on that. Instead, you could have just delegated that to someone who's an expert at it while you are working on building your sales funnels or like marketing, thinking about your next marketing move or, you know, like building your marketing calendar and stuff that are like more worth it compared to the amount of money it can give. It can bring you an hour. I don't know in which book I read about that, but there are certain activities that you should not spend so much time on because they're worth only $10 an hour. For example, like running your errands or cleaning your house or stuff like that. But if you spend time working on, let's say, clearing up your message, having clarity in your message, well, that's worth a lot of money because when you do that, you attract the right person and your conversions are higher because you are clear about what you stand for and what you do. Same thing when you work on your sales funnel. Well, of course, if you spend time on that, well, eventually you'll get more sales and more revenues for your business. So you can invest even more into getting better at what you do and then higher your fees and stuff like that. So just think about if there's an advice I can give to the listeners here is like, just find out like what you're doing and what you're spending your time on right now. Is it like the more lucrative way of spending your time right now?
Right. Yeah. James Schramko was on a very early episode of the podcast. And one of the things that he said is you need to maximize your daily dollar activities. What are the things that are actually going to make you money and only be working on those?
Exactly.
And, Harry Duran, he's a good friend of mine from Podcast Junkies. I think you've had him on your podcast. And
no, I didn't.
No, that's right. Has he had you on his yet? Oh, you got to go on Podcast
Maybe
Junkies.
We should connect.
Yeah, that's done. That's happening today.
Okay.
That is happening today. But yeah, Harry was talking about, working your genius, only spending, your time on the things that you're genius at and delegating everything else. And he's got all these productivity apps that he talks about, but I think it's so important, like for show notes. So I don't have to go back and pull out every last detail and listen to the interview again because I just finished talking about it. Of course, I'll jot down some notes and stuff like that, but to have someone go through and then timestamp, because now my VA that helps me with my show notes, she's going through and talking about the different subjects and timestamping them. Just totally just like, hey, I wanted to add timestamps. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I didn't ask her for it. I don't have to pay her extra for it. She's just doing it. And now that I'm using Simple Podcast Press, it has a little timestamp thing in there. So I can just highlight the timestamp. You can jump right to it in the interview. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And it highlights the importance of having a good team.
Yes.
Because, now I've got her doing that. It's less time that I have. I get it back. I'm like, oh, okay, yep. And now I can just throw it up there, add my personality to, the stuff that she's put in the show notes, do a little intro, throw some links in, and I'm done in 10 minutes versus spending another 45 minutes or an hour listening back to a podcast and going through all the editing and everything else to try to get a decent amount of show notes out. So, yeah, you totally hit home with that one. Mm-hmm. So your podcast, it's been going well. You've been having some good people on there.
Yes, I am at episode 165 now.
Oh my God. I haven't looked in a couple of weeks at where you were, but Jesus, 165 episodes in. You're 3 days a week, right?
No, now it's once a week.
Okay, it's once a week. Well, you were 3 days a week for a while, though, right?
I was 5 days a week until episode 100. Then I got down to 3 a week, and now I'm at once a week.
Okay.
Because of the especially the virtual summit, which is asking a lot of my time and organization, and also a lot of other stuff that came up. So for me, once a week, it's okay. And for my audience, it's okay too.
Right. Now, with being 165 episodes in, I actually asked this question on Facebook. It was either this morning or yesterday. I think it was yesterday, as a matter of fact. You're very familiar with Andrew Warner from Mixergy and how Andrew, does his stuff. Well, one of the question that I asked is, I got an email from Andrew talking about a recent interview and how he wanted me to go listen to it, and it was great, but it was for a limited time. And I'm like, well, that's interesting, because podcasters always talk about, how can I monetize my podcast? How can I make money for my message? And if you guys are not familiar with Andrew Warner, he runs Mixergy. And every time you say the word Mixergy, you want to say home of the ambitious upstart. Because if you listen to Mixergy, that's what he says, and then you can hear him in your head. It's like, hey, what's up, freedom fighters? And, I'm an Andrew fan, apparently. But one of the things that he does is he offers these master classes in Mixergy Premium. And so I posed the question, was like, well, how do you guys feel about putting some podcasts behind a paywall and adding additional, content to that podcast, or like keeping the guest on to go into maybe even more detail about, how do you build an email list, or, how do you put together an autoresponder series, and what do you do with that autoresponder series, and how often do you email, stuff like that. I mean, a lot of detail that you don't normally get from a regular interview. But how do you feel about putting either older podcasts or podcasts that aren't brand new? How do you feel about putting them behind a paywall?
I think it's a great idea, but it always has to do with the way you market them. I know that there are already podcasts that you have to pay for to listen to. But I think just an example is just what you just did with Blabs. We started the interview and then you stopped it and you invited people to go somewhere else to get the end of it. So the beginning was just a teaser, and you need to take action to have more of it. I think it would be exactly the same thing. You can start an interview or ask people to go deeper into it by paying a little extra. I think it all has to do with the way you market it. And if you market it to the right people the right way, I mean, there's no way people are not going to pay for it, because they know their value behind that.
Right. No, I think you make a good point. There were a few podcasters who were like, oh no, I would never pay for a podcast, and I wouldn't listen to that show after that. And so, good riddance. But then there were other people that were like, hey, it's valuable content, and there's other stuff other than just the podcast interview. It's really content worth something else.
Exactly.
Like Creative Live does it. They'll film a class with, some really well-known content creator and that has a specialty, and it's free when it's live. And then afterwards, I think most of their classes are like $99, and you pay for and you have full access to it forever. So
exactly.
That's interesting. I'm glad that I mentioned that to you, because I was wondering, I'm like, I want to talk to another podcaster that has a lot of episodes out there, because at this point with a service like Podbean has premium. You can designate certain podcasts for premium content. So you can upload just your podcast you want to charge for and stick them behind a paywall, and then people can go out there and actually subscribe to your premium content or, your paid content. So with your old episodes, as they start dropping off iTunes, do you think that's something that you would possibly, some of the like really, really good content rich ones, you think that's something that you would possibly offer as a bonus, or something that you would put behind hey, it's a couple bucks to go in, or it's 99 cents to access all these old archives of all of these interviews.
I think that is interesting. I think, I'm not close to it at all. I think it would be a great way to, because that sometimes when it's free, like people don't engage as much, but when they pay for it, like they will eat it. They will think about it all the time, So,
That's interesting. So something I wanted to ask you about that kind of came up in another email that I saw from another podcaster. And because you publish on Kindle, have you looked at the no content and low content books as an option for Kindle revenue or online?
Low content book?
Yeah, low content or no. So basically journals. So there's this thing that's been going around, and not a lot of people know about it, but I happened to see, of course, John Lee Dumas just had a journal come out where I think it's a 30-day or 90-day challenge journal.
Oh, yeah. I saw
and he's
that.
got his name on it, and I think he had like 40 of them made through CreateSpace. And I believe that he's selling them. I'm not sure. It may be part of some other thing that he's doing, or maybe for joining Podcasters Paradise at a certain level, he's giving them away. I'm not really sure what his business model is behind it, but there's a lady called the Book Ninja, and I can't remember her actual name, but I did remember her tagline. And she teaches people about creating what are called low content. So it's a journal, and it'll have an inspirational picture in there, or a quote with some questions and answers and stuff like that. It's a lot like, and I'm going to grab it so I can show it to you. So I just happened to be walking out of Barnes and Noble, and there's this 500 writing prompts book, and all it is a bunch of blank pages with a question, and then you answer the question, and it's just it's a prompt to get you to write. Well, it's a $9 book. It's $9.98. So they got me to pay $9.98 for, 300 pages of questions, which is interesting. But when you're running out of stuff, or you think you're running out of stuff to talk about, all you need is a short prompt to help you to start writing.
Yes.
So with you being a Kindle author and being an author in general, have you thought about possibly writing a journal that has some stuff in it that is a challenge journal or stuff like that? What do you think about that?
Sincerely, I have not thought about like writing a journal. But like in stuff that I create, like create workbooks and ask questions to people that had just consumed, for example, a video, and then ask questions about it to make them think about it a little more and go deeper into the subject. But I haven't thought about writing a journal yet. But I think what you just said there and shared with me there, I think it's very interesting. Another interesting thing that you shared today. Because as you say, sometimes we run out of ideas, or we just want to get inspired a little more, or we just want to get used to writing more regularly. And I think that kind of journal could be a very good tool to have. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking about that. I'm like, there's no podcasting prompt journals out there. So, 100 different podcasting subjects to talk to your guest about, or 100 interesting questions to ask podcast or something like that. So, something to help podcasters do better interviews, because like you said, a lot of the times people don't do research and they don't prepare. And I think there are some general questions that aren't that vague that could get your guest to really, really give more.
Yes.
And
go deeper.
Yeah, and go deeper personally, because some of the questions, even just in that journal, there are questions in there that you could ask during an interview that would get someone to really think, because they're kind of deep thinking questions. So I was wondering what you would think about that, because you're usually like right on the forefront of just about everything that's going on. So
yeah, I love that idea though, Vernon, I have to admit.
Well, cool. Very awesome. All right. Well, we were way over the half hour that we booked.
No.
I was like, oh my God, I hope she's not busy. She would have told me though.
No, I was about to tell you actually, because I have another appointment coming up like in about not even 10 minutes.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Well, I tell you what, Fabienne, it's been awesome having you on. I'm looking forward to the virtual summit. Can you give everybody the web address for the virtual summit? And of course, I will be putting that in the show notes.
smallbusinessonlinesummit.com. It's easy to remember.
And this episode will publish before before that goes live in October. What's the actual date that it's going live in October?
October 12th.
October 12th. So this will be out before October 12th, so you guys can go and register for it. It's not too late. Make sure that you go and register. Whenever you hear this podcast episode, is going to be before the summit. So definitely go out there, check it out. It's going to be awesome. I am one of the featured speakers, so I hope that prompts you to sign up a little bit.
Yes, it should. It should definitely.
We had some fun doing our interview.
We did.
So
we did.
I'm excited to see the summit. I can't wait, and really interested to see what Chris Brogan has to say, because he's doing some interesting stuff too.
Yes.
Yeah, he just came out with a podcasting class, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Anyway, what's the best way to contact you online? Best places to find you?
Oh, actually, follow me on Periscope at Fabienne Raphael. That's at FABIENNRAPHAEL.
And of course,
I scope every morning
right
at 6 a.m. Eastern Time.
Oh, okay. Ooh, 6
From Monday to Friday.
Okay. Yeah, that means that that's 5 a.m. Central.
Oh,
I think.
I had someone from Seattle, actually. It was 3 a.m. where she was at. I was like, you're not sleeping. That's great. Let's scope with you.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'll have to make sure to get up a little early so I can catch some of your scopes.
Cool.
I usually only see the replays because it's like, oh, well, yeah, that was this morning. All right. Hey, it's been awesome having you on, guys. Make sure to reach out to Fabienne. We're going to have links to contact her all throughout the show notes, and definitely talking about the online virtual summit. So, Fabienne, it's been great, and thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for inviting me again, Verna. I appreciate it.
No, it was fun. I enjoy it. You're actually now a co-host because you've been on more than once. So, there you go.
Yay!
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Bye. Thanks.
Hey, guys, that was an exciting episode. I am really stoked about that. We had a lot of fun and learned a lot of stuff. And now, actually, since we recorded that episode, the Small Business Online Summit is live. You can find it, vernonross.com/SB as in boy summit. That's S as in Sam, B as in boy summit 15. And you'll go right out to the summit webpage. Take a look at some of the stuff that's in there. Make sure you also get on the list, because there's been emails going out every day with a highlight from the summit. This is some really good stuff. I'm excited to be included in and honored to be, in the likes of some of the really great people that are included on the summit, like Chris Brogan, among others. And this one is a fun one, and hopefully you guys learn a lot from my session. I hope you guys check that out. And remember, just go out to vernonross.com, SB Summit 15, and you'll go right to the Small Business Online Summit page, which is just cool to be included in on that. So another thing that's going on is, of course, the Social Strategy Academy. I've got a new class and course coming out, and there is going to be a Black Friday sale. And what I'm going to do is issue out one price, and you'll have access to every course that's currently on the site, including the sponsorship template, the sponsorship coaching, which is normally $1,000. I'm going to do all of that for one price. I'm going to announce it. Actually, you'll have to jump on the email list. So there is a link in the show notes that if you go to that link, make sure you've added yourself on the list. If you are currently on my email list, you don't have to do anything. You're going to get a special announcement about the Black Friday sale, but the promo code for the Black Friday sale when you go out to the Social Strategy Academy is going to be, of course, just Black Friday. You just put that promo code in, and you're going to have access to an entire bundle of training courses, and it's going to last. There may be even some stuff added to it. I've got some stuff from some other instructors. So I'm going to just throw a ton of information at you guys. Anything social media, you're going to get some coaching stuff in there. You're going to get pretty much everything that I talk about on the show and in social media and in trainings for, corporations and stuff like that. I'm putting all of that stuff in the Social Strategy Academy. So definitely go out to socialstrategyacademy.com, check it out. Promo code Black Friday. And when this goes live, that promo code is actually going to go live on the day after Thanksgiving, actually on Black Friday. I'm going to wait. I'm not going to let it go early. It's going to go on sale Black Friday. So definitely make sure you go out to the site on Black Friday enter the promo code. You'll get access to every course that I have. And I'm actually adding a new social media from 101 to advanced course out there. It's going to cover Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everything. So this course is actually going to be pretty cool. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. I'm just trying to put the finishing touches on it and get it out by Friday. So this is a brand new course, and I know you guys will enjoy it. Other than that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Remember, keep reaching out to me on Twitter, on Instagram. You can find me at RossPR just about everywhere. And also on Snapchat. Keep your snaps coming. It's been pretty fun. Also, join me on Blab. I am on Blab quite a bit now. I don't really host a lot of shows, but I am on a lot of shows. So definitely check me out on Blab. Follow me at RossPR. And with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I wish you a happy, happy Thanksgiving. You guys know I normally don't date the podcast, but hey, I wish you a happy Thanksgiving. And I will see you in the next episode.